they won't enjoy it. They won't get on the headset. They won't come on board. And I think that it's about finding the right type, because you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. And one of the things we spent 5 years building the metaverse, and it's been a painful journey in many times, because we made the mistake of trying to bring on board people that we thought would like it. They weren't completely up for it. On the other hand, as soon as you open up the product and actually release it to the wild, then people love it. You know, there's millions of people out there who actually really want this experience, this opportunity, the ability to share and interact, and I guess present their content is what so many people have been looking for. They've grown up with their sci-fi books wanting, and it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like schools. Some kids enjoy going to school, some kids don't. It's like sports. Some people want to play sports, some people don't. Metaverse, some people metaverse, other people don't. And I think I don't think there's a way of getting them in, apart from potentially explaining to them that this is an opportunity to create the next step of the internet, and that if they want to be on board in both defining and making the most of the next stage of the internet, then they should be getting on board. And if people can get that, then then they join.
Yeah.
They come on board.
Yeah, I think that is the thing that really does entice people the most, when we contextualize it in that way, relating this to what happened with the internet back in the 1990s and people who got on board early and the benefits from that. If we relate it to that, then their ears perk up and they start to understand. But also what I'm telling people is that, whatever we're doing in real life, we can do in the metaverse. We can bring our businesses here, and we can expand the reach, because I'm talking with you. I don't know where you are, but you could be in the UK. I am in the United States. We can speak with people from many different parts of the world and do business in a way that is more personal than just sending a message over the internet. And so I think that is a very expansive way of like creating a global community, and of course expanding the global economy. But I think that's a really there's a lot of potential in this space. So thank you for having this space and recognizing the beauty in the communities that are being built here. Black Wall Street, the financial district that has been created by Keith. He's pretty popular on here, and the Pride district, and also the fashion district. So we're happy. I'm happy to be a part of that space, and I'm happy that you put those on the map. Thank you so much.
Thanks. A lot of people talk about getting their districts on the map, and one of the things that we often come back to is it's not us that do that, it's you guys that do that. We build the space, you put yourselves on the map. And I think that's another difference between potentially us and Facebook or Microsoft or Google or these other companies, is we're not here to own this. We're here to create something you guys own, and that's how the internet works. It's not how Amazon works, it's not how Facebook works, but it's how the internet works. And I think that's a big distinction between what we're trying to do and what other people are trying to do. Another thing that we often get into is people, I'm going to come down to your level because I'm finding myself a little bit tall, and I'd rather be your height. There we go.
Actually, that helps my neck. Thank you.
But yeah, a lot of people say to us, when are we going to see the big names appear? When are the big brands going to come into the metaverse? And I get a little bit, well, I think you've missed the point. If you look at the initial internet, it wasn't the big brands that came to the internet. Barnes and Noble didn't go to the internet and win. Barnes and Noble forgot to go to the internet and let Amazon win. And what we need to be looking for here in the metaverse isn't the arrival of big brands like Nike or Sony or all these other big companies. What we're looking for is the people like yourselves that are going to be starting the next Amazon and starting the next whatever it is that is out there. And that's what I think gets me excited. I want to see what all you guys are doing that makes the future of the metaverse. I don't want to see Amazon come in. I don't want. I do, but it's not what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing the guys that come along with their new ideas of how to do something, and they take what we built and they turn it into something that we'd not even imagined. Because that's where the future of the metaverse lies. We can build a tech, but you all are going to be the guys that make it and own it.
YouTube's a good example of that, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's a level playing field where anybody can, if they've got the talent and they've got something to give, they can shine through, can't they?
Yeah. Exactly. And also it's a good example of something that, you know, was unique to the internet, and nobody thought that TV was going to die. But any kid growing up today, they don't want to watch TV. They don't want to go to YouTube. They sit on an iPad or an iPhone, and they're on YouTube. And I think that that's the future that we've got to be prepared for here with the metaverse. Is we've got to be looking at it from a point of view of, well, we don't want to be part of the companies or looking for the companies that got their caught with their pants down last time around. The whole music industry died and Spotify took over, or the equivalent, because they weren't willing to take the next step. And that's the exact same thing we're going to see here. There's going to be loads of companies who are too slow, too boring, too old school, believe that the internet will never die and that the internet's the future, and they won't know that they've got to move to the metaverse. And it's the people that come here now that are going to be the winners of the future.
I have a question about portals. You know, for our festival, for Black Meta Fest, we are going to different metaverses rather. I know you're the multiverse. We're going to different metaverses, like Crypto Voxels, Decentraland, Altspace.
Yep.
Is there a plan for you to kind of be a portal between worlds, or create a portal between these different spaces and make them interoperable in some way?
So we can't make them interoperable, but we are interoperable. So if you notice, all of the doors, we let people link to other apps, we let people link to web pages, we let people, you know, link to each other's metaverses. We're very open in how we say, you know, we don't want to keep you in a walled garden, which is our world, which is, again, how people like Facebook and Apple and other companies think. We're actually saying, no, open up, go wherever you want to go. We believe that we'll be successful by letting you link to another metaverse or another app or another web page or another destination, because where will you come back to when you want to know where else you want to go? You're going to come back here, because here is going to be the hub of everything in the metaverse. And that is very much how we see it, versus I think a lot of the other companies are trying to be a closed ecosystem. And I think that I don't think that's so exciting. I think an open ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that's super
win.
exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we actively let people link to other apps, and we actively let people, you know, leave and then point out. We promote it with our businesses. One of the key points we talk about is, well, we're not allowed to sell physical goods inside an app on a Quest, but we are allowed to point your metaverse to a web page that sells physical goods, and therefore use the door to click to the web page and then sell your goods. And that, you know, the use of that is going to obviously expand massively over the next couple of months. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that we're going to see. And I'm going to.
I mean, you could link directly to OpenSea. You could link directly to OpenSea. You know.
Yes.
You could sell double wides.
Yeah.
Directly to OpenSea.
Sell whatever you can sell on the internet. And I think that concept of saying, well, actually what we're going to do is we're going to create a social shop, we're going to create a social environment, but then from that environment you're going to be able to do all the things you can do on the internet. You can buy, you can sell, you get the pizza delivered. All we have to do is have somebody with a pizza delivery store put a web page link on their door, and you can get a pizza delivered to you in real life. You know, what more do you want from the metaverse? And I think that's pretty much where this is going to go, and we will integrate as closely as possible with platform holders and other apps as we're allowed. If we're allowed to do that, we will do it, because that's where we feel the future is, and that's what we think you guys want to do. Because
I think that's great, and I think there's something to be said for, you know, rather than looking at it as a competition between these different kinds of platforms, you know, a way to work together. You know, there's a metaverse platform that was created for watching films. For example, we watch .us. We could launch a portal from here to there, and then it just creates more traffic between the two. So I think things like that are brilliant, and having that in mind about how these can be interoperable is
Something's happened to your microphone. I think you've knocked it.
Oh.
You were halfway
Oh,
through.
no.
There you
Yeah,
go.
no, it's back. It's back.
You're back
Okay.
again.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I was just saying, you know, I think that interoperability, that openness to seeing different apps working together is what's going to increase the traffic between them. So that's what I was saying.
Yeah. And also it means that the success lies in where the most value is, which is what I believe in. I don't believe it should be about, you know, success sitting with Google or with Facebook because they're rich. I think it should be based upon, you know, even playing field. If we can deliver a metaverse that's better than everybody else's, well, then they should come to us. If we can't, well, then we should fail, and everybody else should go somewhere else. I mean, that's how this should work. And I think letting people choose, letting people decide, is more important than letting us control.
I use
Thank
Altspace
you.
quite a lot.
Yes. Well, thank you. So thank you. I'm glad you noticed that, and it's one of the key features that we talk about behind the scenes a lot, because when we look at companies like Facebook and what they're doing with Horizon Worlds, which is a massively, you know, powerful tool and very cool, but it's still got a barrier to entry, which is you have to learn how to use the tools, you have to get good at art, you've got to be able to actually know what you want to make and make it, and you've got to have a vision, and most people don't have the time for that. Some people don't even have the creativity for that. I'm a producer, I'm not a creative. So I hire people to do the creatives because I can't. And if that's how I think, then obviously it's going to be the same for a lot of other people. And I think that the key thing that we did was we went back and we looked at how the internet progressed. So we went back to the early days of the internet. We looked at the progression of those 30 years of what happened between the first, you know, web page through to current Netflix and Amazon and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And we noticed that we went through this phase of things like MySpace, which was horrible. It was beautiful and cool for about a week, and then it became horrible and messy and hell because everybody had to create their own spaces. At the end, the thing that won was the standardized format where somebody had created something neat and you could drag and drop images and videos into it. That's how Twitter won, that's how Facebook won, that's how LinkedIn works. And it's about letting people do something that they can't otherwise get their head wrapped around or they don't have the time for. And if we can apply that to the metaverse, then I think we're in a situation where, yeah, that will win, because you guys don't want to be creating 20 different types of lecture rooms. You want a well-made lecture hall that works for everybody, and then you just want to be able to come in and use it. And there might be some people who would enjoy making a much cooler lecture hall, but at the same time, 95% of people just want to get on with the lecture. And I think that philosophy is, again, part of what we're trying to achieve. Make it easy and simple and useful.
I'll tell you another thing, Sam, that that I think would be very beneficial. One of the other places that I like to go to is like big screen, for example. And one of the reasons I like to go there is because you can pick rooms to your specific interests. There's a crypto room. You can talk there. I think if the multiverse had certain rooms at various places on the map for, let's just make something up, horse riding, crypto, you know, where people could go and meet, and actually that would be the central location for that interest. I know one thing, it would be my stuff here rather than checking real estate or checking my, you know, double wide nation. I would actually go to find that interest, and I would sit down and see if Samaya or Pretty Silent One or Anthony was in there talking about that common interest that we had.
Yeah, well, so you're right, and we are working on ways to increase the simplicity of creating that, but partly it's wrong, I think, for people like us to define the categories
mandate
places of interest. Yeah, I think that we need to, I mean, Chris and I often talk about the problem of acting like God, because we own the platform and we have the ability to come in and be ruthless gods if we wanted to. But that's not going to work. That's not the right way for us to achieve success. The right way for us to achieve success is to actually be the employees of you guys and deliver what you need to be able to create your spaces to be for you to define why you're into horse racing, you're into crypto, you're into deep sea diving, and therefore you create your spaces, and if those flourish, then we support you in making those flourish, because that's how the internet works, and that's how we should work. Because if we go in and say, right, we think that horse racing is cool, so we're going to have a horse racing district, and somebody else, Chris, thinks that, I don't know, red-haired coders are cool, and therefore we've got to have a red-haired coder room. That becomes very, one-sided, and actually it's not about me and about Chris, it's about you guys. So yes,
right.
what we want to do is find more ways to enable you to define the spaces that we should send people to.
I completely agree. Let me just interject this though. I completely agree with what you're saying, but what I would have an issue is, let's say Pretty Silent One creates a horse racing room. How do I find that? There's not really a, I can look at my risk, and yeah, I can go and look at rooms, but there's only like 4 times 4. There's only like 16 rooms there, so I don't know where. There's not really.
Let me tell you. So 2 months ago, before we launched Infiniverse, there was a total of 500 rooms inside the app, and the majority of them were inside the planetarium. Now there's over 200,000 more. Sorry, what am I saying? There's more like nearly 1 million. There's 250,000 apartments sold. There's more than 1 million spaces that people have created, and the scale of jumping from 500
logarithmically
more than 1 million in a month has put us behind the times with regards to how do we find stuff. So, in week 1, we were thinking, oh my God, we're going to have to implement this feature. 2 weeks later, that feature was out of date. We had to implement another feature. And, then we've implemented voice search, but now voice search is struggling because there's too many rooms that are similar in name. The scale of growth within Infiniverse and Multiverse as a result of the recent success is so crazy that the mind boggles. I mean, we really struggle to find a solution to that level of growth. So we're working on it very hard. We know that that's a key part of it. We know that we have to work on that side of it. But my concern is that if we started fixing the problem for today, another month down the line, and that fix would have been outdated because there'll be 1 billion rooms or something stupid.
Wow.
At the moment, I can't even begin to predict it. So I'm a little bit in awe, but also struggling to work out what is the future. And I think the thing.
You know what, Sam? It sounds like it's a good problem to have.
I think we've been working on this for about 5 years, and one of the things that Chris and I were always talking about was it's going to be nice when we have luxury problems. And luxury problems are problems of success. And we've been waiting for the moment when we were going to have the luxury problems. And I think about middle of January, Chris looked over at me and he said, "Hey, Sam." I said, "Yeah?" He said, "We got luxury problem sandwiches." The scale of success has driven the sense of problem to something that's completely beyond anything we could have imagined, and it's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's great to see that level of success, and it's wonderful that you guys are all supporting us with it, and that we've done it without investment, without VCs or other people that are breathing over our necks to force us to do bigger returns next month or whatever it is. But yeah, we are a little bit running in front of the steam train while it's powering up and speeding up, and we're laying the tracks, and that's the feeling that we've got.
Good. I have a question for you. Are you guys going to start acknowledging the different areas? There's all these districts popping up. There's Trappers Alley and this. There's the Caribbean district. And say for the Caribbean district, are you guys gonna maybe throw them a bone and put a palm tree there, or kind of help develop these areas that are going to different spots?
We are and we aren't. Again, it's a great question. So one of the things that I sort of struggle with is the idea of us recognizing them. Because if we go ahead and recognize them, and let's say we decide to recognize the Caribbean district, which is very cool, I love it. But if we do that, then there's going to be 50 districts that get upset because we didn't recognize their district. And what we want to do is find a way that allows the community to recognize districts, because it isn't about me and Chris recognizing them, it's about you guys defining them. And when enough people get together and say this is a district, then it needs to be a district regardless of whether Chris and I like it. If we don't like palm trees, that's our problem. If everybody likes palm trees, then we need to put palm trees in, and that's something that we need to support. So right now, this, what you just described, is one of the biggest conversations we have on a daily basis, is how we're going to do that. We have some ideas. It's a little bit difficult because we're going to get into the area of trying to solve a problem of how do you do democracy at a level of districts for people in a metaverse. And it is slightly complex, but we have some ideas. And I think if you give us a month or two, you'll start to see that, maybe even sooner, but you'll start to see some of the ideas that we've got coming to fruition. And you'll see that those districts will be able to flourish on their own without the need for me and Chris or the team to make an executive decision on which district is valid.
Now, I've got one question, and I've found a lot of people, I'm not the only one who's noticed this, when we bought properties in areas, say you bought a property that's overlooking a dinosaur or a mermaid or whatever item that you bought property specifically for that, when it comes up on your risk tab of your properties, all you get is a name. But unless you actually know the name of the street, you don't know where you're going if you've got 15, 20, 40 properties. Is there any way of you being able to do it so that each property that is around by, say, a mermaid, for an example, or a zombie Mohican, whatever, that it would say the property and then it say the name of what it is overlooking or near? Would that, because I know there's a lot of people who are finding that difficult to find where their properties are.
I think that comes down to our solution for the districts. We have an idea where people will be able to define districts, and those will be defined. It could be that we put down a zombie head in rock and roll district, right? So then which one do we choose? Do we call it rock and roll, or do we call it zombie head? That again, isn't for us to decide. That's for the community.
Yeah, I can tell you this, Juju. I made a list. It's really helpful. I mean, what they did about putting the sale price and you actually see the price you bought it for, man, that was fantastic, Sam. That was so good.
Yeah,
but Juju, I make a list. I've got like 60 properties, and then I'll put T-Rex, big dinosaur, mermaid, and I can go back and I can see the address. Literally, it's a simple list of your property.
Yeah, but in the real world, I can't actually do the writing side because hands don't work. This is the best my hands work.
Okay.
So I can't do the actual writing part.
Juju, can